We're now being joined on the news at 10 by our data consultant, Babajide Gusowo, to look at how further to deepen these ties between the U.S. and Nigeria. Babajide, our crystal ball is back. So the Vice President was in the United States, concluding his visits. They talked about a lot, economy and so on. They want to deepen centuries-old ties between Nigeria and the United States. How do you translate that to the man on the street?
Several ways. You have some Nigerians that are asking what will this mean for their visas. And tonight I'll let you know, I'll share some information with you. How many women, children, and men leave Nigeria to the United States every year. And I think that information will surprise you. But listen to this, Amarachi. The Vice President didn't go to the United States just as the Vice President. He went as Nigeria's head of marketing. Here's what I mean. He went there to sell something and also to receive something. It was a bargain. And so while Nigeria needs intelligence, new military equipment, regional stability, and all manners of support from the United States also wants something from Nigeria. And what is this then? Access to Nigeria's market. Indeed, access to Africa's market. Here's what I mean. Last year, the United States trade with all the countries in the world was $1.7 trillion. However, trade with Africa represented less than 2% of that amount. And so while Mr. Trump and Pence, his vice president, requires a lot of new markets, and Africa and Nigeria is one of those markets they are considering, the vice president, as Nigeria's vice president and head of marketing, went there to exchange values. You know what they say, there's no free lunch. Even in Freetown, nothing is free. And so we expect that a lot of negotiations had taken place. Clearly, no one wants to contribute to the problems of the world without providing some solutions as well.
Yeah, but you know those relations can be hampered by a few factors. The visa issue, which you said you're going to go to in a bit, and of course the fact that the U.S. is trying to match China's influence on the continent. So all of that put into consideration as you talk about the relations with Nigeria and the U.S. But those bilateral relations have evolved, especially since 1999. Can we say today it is balanced?
There's several perspectives to this. How much goes out from Nigeria? How much does Nigeria earn from the United States? How much do we get from the United States as well? But perhaps the easiest way to look at this is to look at the three facts about Nigeria's bilateral relation. And the first is to look at exports from Nigeria to the US. And what you will find out is the exports from Nigeria to the US hit this peak. That is, the best performance was in 2008 when it was $38 billion. Last year, exports was less than $6 billion. The second is to look at capital importation from Nigeria to the US. That has been quite uncertain. 2014, $3.7 billion. 2018, about the same thing, $3.7 billion. So capital importation from the United States has also not been certain. But perhaps the third thing is to look at, is this really a bilateral relationship or is it a unilateral relationship? Here's what I mean. Since we started the Fourth Republic in 1999, fewer US presidents have come in. In fact, since 1978, when we started the presidential system, the United States has had 7 presidents, but only 3 out of 7 presidents from the United States since 1978 has visited Nigeria. So when you look at these facts, especially fewer US presidents visiting Nigeria and all Nigerian presidents visiting the US, it then tells us that the relationship might be more unilateral than bilateral. We need to be able to find more values to be able to attract the presidents from these nations that we have bilateral relationships with. Again, look at it this way. 7 presidents from the United States since 1978, but only 3 have visited Nigeria: Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, and George W. Bush. So what we need to do is we need to find other things apart from oil. We need to be able to show that the nation has enough reasons to attract new investments. And even though the US and the United States are buying less oil from Nigeria, we need to also be able to open up new markets.
But this unilateral relationship, isn't it common with other African countries as well? I mean, you find the United States benefiting the most, I believe, from this relationship. We talked about African leaders going to meetings with the US and with Western countries and, having nothing to offer on the table.
Again, it also comes with deepening our ties. The first is we need to improve intra-African trade. We need to be able to do business more with African countries. The second is we need to be able to find out and produce more and export more non-oil products. And the third is we need to ask ourselves this question forwards: what is Nigeria offering? Again, we can't be contributing to the problems of the world while we should be really providing solutions to the problems of the world. But here's why the Nigerian-US trade relationship is important. Even though that trade value, the trade number is small, $26 billion with the United States traded with all of Africa last year, 10% of that trade was with Africa. So in Africa, the summary is Nigeria remains the most significant trading partner for the United States. The United States wants to improve its relationship with Nigeria, get an inroad into Africa, but we also have to be able to find out that what is Nigeria offering the world. We no longer can offer problems to the world. What we should do is we need to offer solutions to the world.
What are the solutions we can offer to the world?
We can export skills. We can be known for exporting cheap processed food. But whatever it is, Amarachi, we no longer can expect people to deal with us because of sympathy. We need to be able to start providing value. Our crude oil can't be sustainable as a means of value. So the question on the minds of every cabinet member when they are sworn in is, what sort of value will your ministry be providing? Again, we no longer can be contributing problems to the world, insecurity problems. What Nigeria needs more than ever before is to provide solutions to the problems of the world, no longer contributing problems.
I'd like you to look back, at those 3 U.S. presidents who have visited Nigeria and see if, trade was boosted between Nigeria and the U.S. during that time. And, the benefits of a U.S. president visiting Nigeria, how do you translate that into, Naira and Kobo? How do you translate that to a burgeoning economy? How do you translate that to, people really understanding the purpose of a visit like that?
It's called the signal theory. It passes a signal not just to Nigerians, but to the rest of Africans that this is the partner in whom I am very pleased with. So what we need to also consider, for instance, is I initially talked about the number of Nigerians leaving Africa to the United States and how significant this is. The evidence shows that every year, 200,000 Nigerians go to the United States. In other words, 1 in every 5 Africans that goes through the borders in the United States comes from Nigeria. So this relationship is significant. And when we look at those periods when the United States president visited Nigeria, there was a boom in the economy. There was higher consumer confidence based on the data that we have. But however, what we've noticed is in the last 5-6 years, exports to the United States have dwindled because the United States is buying less of Nigerian oil. And in the final analysis, we also need to ask ourselves this question tonight. What is Nigeria offering to the rest of the world? And once we solve that question, we'll also be able to solve the problem of illiteracy, poverty, and regional instability in the country.
Food for thought, Babajide. Thank you again for enlightening us this evening.
The pleasure is all mine, Amarachi.